What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, I have 3 different teams for you guys taking on the brand new Garb challenge available here on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global versus the worst generation. This is definitely the most difficult of the Garb challenges that we've seen thus far. I'd say in some cases there are really annoying things about Dofi 2 and Rev 2, you could say, are on the same level. But like, I would say like this particular Garb challenge is like on the level of like Dofi 2 and Rev 2 in terms of just overall difficulty, and it's, you know, said by that because it is an 11-star difficulty quest. But when you go through, you do realize that these mobs actually don't do that much damage, so it's not going to be too difficult. But the really annoying thing is towards the end of this fight, which we'll discuss as we get into this video. And there will be 3 teams, as I mentioned. This is going to be the first team. This was my favorite team that we're using on this particular Garb challenge here, using a friend captain versus ace. Now you see that this Uroge stage is quite annoying, right? Because Uroge actually has this debuff or a buff on himself, which means it limits the amount of damage you can deal to him in a single turn. So any type of damage that you do is only going to be limited by what his buff says. So you see currently it says we can only do 1 million damage to him during this current turn. But one of the good things is that if you're able to apply the burn effect on the enemy with versus ace or with versus Akainu, that damage does not count into that damage limiter. So that really helps you take down this fight, and every turn it will gradually increase. Now after the 4th turn he gives you normal attacks only, but you know, that's one of the cool things, is that if you do kill him before that actually activates, you don't have normal attacks only for the entire duration of the quest. So that's a really nice thing. But of course, because of that damage limiter, most teams will be inflicted with normal attacks only. So on this stage with Zoro and Killer, one thing you have to keep in mind is that if you activate an orb changing special, they're going to do damage to you and they're going to slot bind you. So you do not want to deal with that. One of the really good things you can do though is you can use a support effect which generates slots for you. In this particular instance, I'm going ahead and using the special ability of Kawamatsu, which enables me to lock my orbs for 1 turn. And because Kawamatsu is a damage dealing special, we can have the support of Akainu, which will enable us to get a full board of strength slots. And because we are locking them, we're essentially keeping a full board of strength slots for the rest of the fight, which obviously makes it very easy. But after you move into the next stage, what will happen is your slots will be put into a great barrier slot thing, so you have to hit 3 greats to unlock them. So ideally you want to try and get matching slots, but it does make it very annoying considering the Zoro and Killer stage don't allow you to manipulate your slots around. It's just extremely annoying. Blackbeard as well introduces some interesting things, because after turn 2 or 3, what he's going to do is that he puts an immunity on your side of the field. And what the immunity does is that it stops you from activating an orb boost. You're not allowed to get an orb boost for 3 turns. I think he does that after turn 2. But you know, it only lasts for 3 turns. You can stall 1 turn, then kill him, and then you can go ahead and remove it with the enemy's preemptive in the next room, so that's cool. But on the final stage, you've got Luffy, Law, and Kid, all with different colors, all activate super typing on themselves as well, so they actually have increased affinity, which is pretty annoying. So if you need to have your own super typing to like actually deal a little bit more damage towards these guys here, and they actually switch one of your characters out with your middle row, and if you reset the game in this preemptive attack, it will automatically keep switching to your middle right character. So whichever character you want as your captain, I probably would advise to put it in your middle right, and then reset on this final boss stage to guarantee that unit to become the captain. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you see that your bottom row gets blown away for 2 turns as well, so having characters that have sailor effects that can resist blow away, or the fire tank pirates, for example, are really good options. So, you know, there's a couple of different ways you can get around it, but the fact that they have one of each colored enemy on this final boss stage does make it annoying, and does actually mean you need to have some pretty substantial damage output in order to get through this fight a lot easier. Moving on to the second team, we have the Final Tap Kid. Now with this team, the 2 characters that are on the bottom row both have crewmate effects that resist blow away. And specifically, the Capone's going to be pretty useful for Final Tap Kid once we get to the stage with Blackbeard. because we are going to be doing a little bit of stall to ensure that we can get through that stage efficiently. And then also Jinbei is another really good unit because he's going to be very useful for the Zoro and Killer stage. Because they do have 4 turns of Threshold, we can use the Jinbei special to remove that, but it also gives us some health recovery, which is very good for Kid. Having health recovery for Kid is very, very important, because we want to ensure that before we move on to that next stage, we're able to use the Super type special. Remember, we're not allowed to use an orb changing special against Zoro and Killer, so any type of way to get beneficial slots that doesn't activate a special ability is going to be very useful, of course. So through support effects or through super types is going to be the most ideal way in order to get those matching slots so that they are locked in an orb barrier when you reach stage 6 versus Blackbeard. We didn't really talk too much about the Capone, Bonnie, and Apu stage on the previous clip, but this stage is annoying because you see there's like a debuff that gets applied to your side of the field for like 9 turns, and what this debuff is anytime you consume a recovery or a Semler slot, instead of actually healing from it, you take damage equal to how much you would have recovered. So it's like it's kind of like an inverse type of special that was applied on the Arena Mihawk, where if you stalled 1 turn on the Doflamingo stage, he would give you a debuff which anytime you healed, it would take the damage away instead. So that's the way that this kind of works, is that anytime you heal, but only with a recovery slot, you're going to be dealt damage equal to that value. And then on this particular team, we are not using the burn mechanic in order to get through the Yorogue stage, so we are just doing normal attacks. Yorogue actually hits pretty hard every single turn, and you basically have to stall like a minimum of 3 turns on this stage, no matter what, just due to the fact that that damage limiter is actually there. It's a very annoying effect, and if you're running a team that's extremely squishy with not much health or not much damage reduction, then it's going to make your team a lot more difficult and a lot more unlikely to actually get through the content due to this very annoying Yorogue stage. Mihawk and Perona are another fantastic unit to use here because their switch effect generates a 1500 heal per turn. If you partner that up with our auto healing, we're getting 2500 health back per turn, so that's actually pretty good. But they also reduce the amount of damage that the enemy will be dealing every turn as well, because the negative debuff does apply a 20% attack and defense reduction to the enemy. So being able to get a bit of health back and also reduce the amount of damage that we would be taking is actually pretty good. And another character that hasn't seen that much play thus far, but is actually insanely good for this team, is the Kaido and Big Mom dual unit. Now, their switch effect generates a 2x attack boost to themselves every single turn, well, every turn that you activate it. It also gives themselves a guaranteed matching slot. I don't know if it goes through block orbs, but giving themselves a matching slot is very good. And their special ability is also pretty good too. It does orb changing, but we're not really using the orb changing here. But the orb boost, it provides a 2.25 orb boost to your strength and dex characters, I want to say. And their captain effect is also very good, and we want this character to become the captain in the final boss room. Because, you know, if Mihawk and Perona become the captain, they only boost the attack of strength and psi characters, whereas Kaido Big Mom boosts the attack of strength and dex. I don't know if they actually boost quick. They might boost quick, but either way, the main reason why they're here is because they end up being a dex unit on the final boss stage, which enables us to do more damage towards the Luffy boss. Because, you know, dealing with Law is fine because Law, we have super effective characters against him, but then dealing with Kid, we can hit for neutral damage, and then attacking Luffy is going to be a problem for those strength teams. But if you have a character such as the Kaido Big Mom, you can get super effective damage, and with all of the boosts that you'll have active, it's not really going to be a big problem. And you'll see here that we do activate the super type of Kid to generate essentially a full water matching slot that we can try and keep. We do get very lucky in terms of getting these matching slots here on this stage here. If Kaido Big Mom doesn't have a matching slot, it's not the end of the world, because on the final boss room, they will get a slight color affinity boost. They will get an attack boost from Kid, so they're going to be hitting pretty hard nonetheless, but having that matching slot obviously makes a huge difference. And we do take this time to just, you know, take down Blackbeard as easily as we can. Luckily, the rare recruit Capone is actually very useful here. Who would have thought, right? He's a very good unit because he does provide pretty good healing to our crew, and he has 2 turns of damage threshold on our side of the field, so every time Blackbeard attacks, he normally does a lot of damage, but we're able to mitigate a lot of that just due to the special ability of Capone. And of course, after a couple turns have passed, you'll see that he does apply that debuff, where it's an immunity buff to us, but it means that we're not allowed to activate an orb boost. So we want to wait until that specific debuff has gone to a 2-turn cooldown, and then we kill Blackbeard, so that when we move into the next room and the preemptive has happened, then we're able to actually activate an orb boost at that point. Now, I believe after that debuff expires, he will apply another one to you, which will do for attack boost instead. So ideally, you just want to kill Blackbeard once this debuff is on a 2-turn cooldown, and then you'll be able to move on here. And then on the final boss boss stage, of course, we actually do a reset here because I believe initially it targeted Mihawk and Perona to become the captain, but then we did a reset and we want the Kaido and Big Mom to become the captain instead of Mihawk and Perona, so that we actually get the huge boost from Kaido Big Mom. They actually can hit Luffy for very, very good damage. And of course, we've got the color affinity from Kamazo support attached to Kid, which gives us a minor color affinity boost to our driven characters, which is going to be for Mihawk and Perona, the two kids, and then also for the Kaido and Big Mom. I don't know if the Capone is a driven unit. I think he actually might be, so that's actually kind of nice. And of course, with Capone and Red Recruit Jinbei resisting Blowaway, that obviously makes this team a little bit more efficient for taking down these bosses. So I'll leave you guys with this clip, and we'll have a look at the final team of the video. The final team of this video is going to be with versus Kaido. Now remember what I mentioned a little earlier in the fact that if you have an effect that is able to kill your rogue within 3 turns, you're not going to be inflicted with normal attacks only. So that's actually quite big because we all know how good versus Kaido is, but if normal attacks only is inflicted, it does make him a little bit less useful, of course. So the fact that we're able to kill your rogue relatively simply because of the versus effect of Ace generating that burn damage to the enemy means that we are able to kill your rogue within the 3 turns, which means that for the rest of the fight we don't even have to worry about the normal attacks only. So that's very good because we can use the versus effect of Kaido, and that is the main and sole reason as to why this team is able to get the job done. Also something to note is this team is like nearly almost free to play. Obviously we've got the 2 versus Kaido captains, but also having the Ace as well, but the rest of the characters are actually free to play, which is actually pretty awesome to see. But the main reason why Luffy's here is because he is an orb booster and he is an orb locker. However, looking back at it, what I would suggest if you guys are running this team is that you would want to be using Ace's special before you move on from the rogue stage. So on the actual final turn of your rogue when you're about to kill, I would probably advise to use Ace's special there so that you get essentially nearly a full board of matching slots, and then I would go ahead and just move on from there, because I do use Ace's special a little bit later, but I get kind of RNG dependent because of these matching slots that we try and aim for. So yeah, I would advise just to use the Ace's special before moving on from the rogue stage. It would just make it a lot more efficient, but either way, we do rely on a little bit of RNG. Even though we don't even have that many good slots, we still are able to get the job done, which just goes to show how powerful versus Kaido's versus effect is. Yeah, it's incredible how good it is once you're able to get it done. Even when you're attacking with a neutral slot, Kaido just does so much end of turn damage with the 2 health cuts, like the AoE damage, the single target huge hit. It's just ridiculous. So at this point here, you can see your rogue is going to be inflicted with the burn, and this is the point here where he does a 1.5 damage limit. This is the turn you kill, and ideally this is the turn you activate the Ace special to generate those slots, and you're able to just do more damage, and you can just save as many slots as you can, because in this next room we're basically going to be killing every stage in 1 turn from here on out. So ideally you'd have as many matching slots as possible. You'd then use the Morley to get rid of the threshold. You use the Luffy special to lock your orbs and also give you an orb boost, and then we use the versus effect of Kaido to get some really awesome stuff going on here, which is pretty dope. Versus Kaido's versus effect alone, like, just solos like all these rooms. It's actually crazy how good it is. When you don't have to deal with normal attacks only, versus Kaido looks very impressive, and honestly still goes to show how good he really is despite his age at this point. I mean, we act like he's an old unit. He has been out for quite a while now, at least on global. He's been out for a very long time on Japan, but still gets the job done. And, you know, if you don't have to deal with normal attacks only, he's definitely one of the more ideal units to use in content. When we reach the final boss room as well, we ideally want Zoro to become the captain, and when Zoro activates his special, I believe his captain effect becomes a 3.75 times captain. You don't really need this Zoro though. You could replace Zoro with like nearly any strength unit at this point, as long as it's a strength unit with like a really good captain effect. yeah, you can just replace it with whatever you want, because you'll see on the final boss stage, we're just relying on versus Kaido to hit extremely hard, and that's basically it, right? So, you know, the Zoro can be replaced with essentially anything. I mean, if you have another ore blocker / ore booster in one unit, you could replace that with the Luffy. Like, there's a couple of different replacements you could have. One thing to note, though, is that Morley actually does have the Sailor effect that resists blowaway, so that's actually kind of nice to have. Ace will be blown away, so you don't have to worry about that. So, just goes to show, using the versus effect, that's the way we get the job done. But that is going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm going to get to work with creating these types of videos for each of the different typings for this current GARP challenge set. Looking forward to this one. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video today, and if you guys have enjoyed it, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.